After making sure everyone else was off the bridge, Percy took Michael's cabin mate, Will Solace, and Blackjack flew them to the hotel. On the top floor, the hunters were guarding the penthouse suites, while the campers nursed each other inside. So many of his friends looked beat up, but he was happy they were all alive. Annabeth was laying on a long chair, and she looked sickly pale and drenched in sweat. Will took a look at her and did what he could. It turned out that there had been poison on the dagger. Will poured some nectar on her wound to clean out the poison. Then he told Percy the nectar would only help Annabeth hold up just for now, and to heal her completely would take mortal medicine. Percy decided to stay with Annabeth while Will went to find the nearest drugstore.
"This is all my fault," Selena said. "I've never been any good at camp like you guys. If I was a better fighter,
Her mouth trembled. Ever since Beckendorf died, she'd been getting worse. And every time Percy looked at her, he got angry about his death all over again. He swore to himself that if he ever found that spy that caused her boyfriend's death, he would give him to Mrs. O'Leary as a chew toy. "Hey, you're a great camper, Selena," he told her. "You're our best Pegasus rider, and you get along with everyone. Believe me, anyone who can make friends with people like Clarice has some serious guts." That last part gave her an idea. Since she and Clarice really were friends, she could probably be the right person to convince Clarice to help them out. Maybe even bring the flying chariot. Percy wasn't all too sure about that idea, but on the bright side, it seemed to give Selena something to focus on. "Don't worry, Percy," she called back. "I won't let you down." Once again, Percy was left alone with Annabeth.
"Hey,"
she said weakly.
"Hey,"
he said back.
"You're cute when you're worried,"
she muttered.
"Why would you do that?" he whimpered. "How could you just take a knife for me like that?" "You would have done the same for me,"
she said. As crazy as that sounded, he felt deep in his heart it was true. Supposedly, they both knew it. "But how did you even know?" he asked.
"Know what?"
He looked around to make sure no one was watching, and then whispered, "My Achilles spot!" Her eyes looked like they were about to pop out of her head.
"Percy, I swear, I had no idea. I just had this strange instinct to protect you." "Well, where's the spot?"
He knew it would be risky to tell anyone, but this was Annabeth. If he couldn't trust her, he couldn't trust anyone. He took her hand and guided her fingers to the right spot on his back. It felt like 1,000 volts flew through his spine from the tip of her fingers. "You saved my life," he said. "Thanks."
"You're welcome,"
she said softly.
"I guess you owe me now."
He chuckled, which felt pretty good after all that fighting for each other's lives tonight. Only then did he realize he was still holding her hand, and even though he didn't mean to, she didn't seem to mind.
"Percy," said Annabeth, "you were wondering why Hermes was mad at me before."
"Nah, it's okay," he said. "That can wait. You need rest."
No, really, I want to tell you. You really should know this. It's been bothering me for a long time."
She told him how Luke came to see her at her house in San Francisco just last year, just weeks before their quest to find Daedalus. He came with no weapon or any companions, and just a flag of truce. Annabeth mentioned he seemed rather scared, and he asked for only 5 minutes to talk. Luke said to her that Kronos was going to use him to take over the world, and that he wanted to run away. He wanted her to come with him so it would be like the old days, back when they were on the run. But of course, Annabeth thought it was a trick. Next to that, deep in her heart, she knew that too much had already changed since the old days. She told Luke that there was no way. He got mad and told her that she might as well have fought him right there because it would have been the last chance she would ever get.
"Don't you see, Percy?" she asked. "What if I had gone with them?" I probably could have saved him from becoming Kronos' host, and none of this would have been happening. This whole war is my fault. It's my fault you're struggling through all this. I'm so sorry, Percy.
Her story made him feel like he was back in the sticks. He remembered last summer when they met the two-faced god Janus, who warned Annabeth she would have to make a choice. Something told him her meeting with Luke might have been what Janus meant. And during their encounter with the wild god Pan, Pan said she would play a great role, and it wasn't going to be the role she would imagine. He wondered if she could answer any questions he had about the vision Hestia showed him earlier. His instincts told him it had to do with something in his prophecy, but he wasn't sure what. Before he could say any more, Connor Stoll came in and told him that Mrs. O'Leary came back with Grover. He found Grover downstairs in the lobby, along with Dahlia and Jake. Grover had heard how they didn't have enough demigods to cover up town, so he had rounded up as many nature spirits as possible to help out. Then Thalia mentioned that one of her hunters reported the sight of a man in golden armor leading an army on the Jersey shore. That reminded Percy of the golden man from his dreams. Thalia's report couldn't have been a coincidence. "Great," he said. "Any good news?"
"Well, we've sealed up all the subway tunnels leading into Manhattan," she said. "Also, it seems like the enemy will wait until tonight to attack. I think Kronos needs time to regenerate after each fight. He's still getting used to his new form. It's taking a lot of energy out of him to slow down time around the city. Most of his forces are more powerful at night, too," Grover said. "No doubt they'll be back after sundown."
"Okay, any word from the gods?" Percy asked.
"I know Lady Artemis would be here if she could," Thalia said. "Athena, too. But Zeus has ordered them to stay at his side. Last I heard, Typhon was destroying the Ohio River Valley."
So
we have about 2 days before he reaches the city."
"Percy, there's something else about the way Kronos showed up at the Williamsburg Bridge," said Jake. "It was almost as if he knew you would be there."
"Like if he had inside information," Percy suggested. "The spy."
"What spy?"
Thalia asked. Jake quickly told her about the silver charm bracelet Percy saw Kronos carry as a communication device.
"Okay, now this is really bad,"
Thalia said.
"It could be anyone," Jake said. "We were all standing there when Percy gave us orders."
"So what do we do?"
Grover asked. "Round up all our troops and search them until we find a familiar charm?" They all looked at Percy, waiting for a decision. He couldn't afford to let them see how panicked he felt, even if things seemed hopeless. "We just keep fighting," he said finally. "Look, if we stay obsessed about this spy and grow suspicious of each other, we'll just tear ourselves apart. You guys did great tonight. I couldn't ask for a greater army. Let's set up a rotation for the watches. Rest up while you can. We got a long night ahead of us." They all mumbled in agreement and went off in different directions to either rest or eat or prepare weapons.
"Percy, you should get some rest too," Thalia said. "Go lie down for a bit. We'll keep an eye on things. We're gonna need you in good shape for tonight."
He didn't argue with that, so he looked for the nearest empty hotel room, and his eyes closed almost immediately.